What's good? What's good? All right, so the goal here is I'm gonna try and give y'all a quick mix tutorial, strictly vocals, and how to work with a 2-track beat. Shout out to my guy Big Waddi. He's the one who's gonna let me use his track that we recently mixed that drops this Friday as well. I'll put the link and all that in the description. This song is called Mama by Big Waddi. And like I said, I'm just gonna take you through a quick version of what I'm trying to do with the mix, with a 2-track instrumental. And let me know what you guys think. If you guys have any tips or pointers. I'm not a professional or anything. I've just been doing this for a long time, and I think that I've achieved a pretty decent sound. So let's see what we can do here. All right, first things first, I like to open the beat. First things first, I'm gonna set the BPM up here. So by setting the BPM, it's gonna ensure that everything is on point as far as your delays and stuff like that. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open this, I'm gonna do something called gain staging. So I'm gonna just open a basic gain input plugin, and then I'm gonna dial this thing back a little bit. So for this one, as you can see here, I already did it at -7 dB. That's just gonna put it at a good spot. That way I'm not forcing too much loudness onto the vocal. That way the vocal can come through and cut through as naturally as it needs to. The beat is already mastered. If you get a beat from online, it's already gonna come through mastered. So if I do this, it cuts down the volume and how much I have to push through the actual beat itself. Next is a little cheat code that I found. It's called the curves equator. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play a louder part of the beat, and once I've recorded a vocal, what I can do is sidechain this. So.
Damn, mama, I can be your man, mama. Not just one of your friends, mama. I'm saying, mama.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna activate the sidechain. And then I'm gonna sidechain this instrumental to the main vocal. And what it's gonna do is it's gonna duck out all the frequencies when the vocal is playing. It's gonna carve out the frequencies. That way the vocal can sit on the beat a little bit better. That way it's not sitting on top of the beat, it's more sitting inside of it. So it's all a smooth feel. It's not just instrumental and beat on top. Everything can kind of coalesce and work together. I'll play it. You're not gonna hear too much of it right now. It's one of those things that's real subtle, but to me it makes a big difference.
Damn, mama, I can be your man, mama. Not just one of your friends, mama. I'm saying, mama, stop all of that playing, mama.
All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do here, now that I got that done, is I'm gonna set his auto-tune.
I can be your man, mama. Not just one of your friends, mama. I'm saying, mama, stop all of that playing, mama. I'm your #1 fan, mama. Damn, mama, I can be your man, mama. Not just one of your friends, mama. I'm saying, mama, stop all of that playing, mama. I'm your #1 fan, mama. Ain't no pressure, just a message from her.
All right, so what I like to do is when I set the auto-tune, it's just finding a comfortable spot, you know what I'm saying? You don't want it to sound too robotic and things like that. So for him, he's got a good vocal take here and everything, and I kind of just wanted to fit the vibe of what the song, what I think it should sound like. And then it's also up to the artist. So once I send it to him, he'll let me know if it's too much auto-tune, too little, if he wants it completely off or if he wants it, more natural, quote unquote. But for this one, we're just giving it a little bit of sauce. I went with 15 retune speed, 15 flex tune, and 10 on the humanize. I found that that's kind of a good range for me. I like to keep my retune between like 9 and 15 or 9 to 20. Flex tune close to the same as my retune speed, depending on if it's like real singing or just like rapping vocals or melodic. Another thing to keep in mind is you always want to find the key to your beat. For me, I have an auto key plugin down here, but you always want to match the key to your beat to the key of your auto tune. That's going to save your life. That's going to save you a bunch of time, and it's going to have everything sounding real crisp and clean. And you want to do that. You want to make sure you're recording with auto tune on. That way you're in key. That's just a huge pointer that no one really ever told me. So anyways, I got his auto tune locked in. And next what I do is I'm just going to I'm gonna add a noise gate here. Noise gate's just gonna eliminate any of that background noise coming from air conditioning or anything that might be going on in the background of the vocal. Nothing special there. I got this NLS channel here. That's just gonna give me a little bit of an extra, it's like a little bit of warmth, a little bit of analog sound. It kind of emulates some hardware. Since I'm not using very much hardware, I'm not using any at all. It's strictly in the box, which just means I'm mixing all through the computer. This is gonna give me a little bit of that warmth, that analog feel. So activate that. Next is what we're gonna do is we're gonna EQ the vocal. Actually, before I EQ the vocal, typically what I do is I throw on a de-esser. So depending on the vocal, I found a decent range for me is around like 5,300 on the frequency. Typically that's pretty good. It allows space for the vocal to still be bright, and I can fix that on the back end. A lot of people say 7,000 around that range is pretty good. I kind of prefer where this is at. You know, I like it. It keeps my vocal bright when I need it. It tames a lot of the real harshness. So before I go in and EQ, I tame that harshness immediately. So.
Damn, mama, I can be your man, mama. Not just one of your friends, mama. I'm saying, mama, stop all of that playing, mama. I'm your number one fan, mama.
So now I'm gonna solo out the
Damn,
vocal,
mama,
work on his
I can
EQ
be
a little
your
bit.
man, mama.
And I'm not really like a big visual guy when it comes to EQing. The first thing I'm gonna do is called subtractive EQing. So basically I'm going in and taking out any of the frequencies that are harsh, and I'm trying to clean this vocal up and just make it sound as smooth as I can. So I'll play you before.
Your friends, mama. I'm saying, mama, stop all of that playing, mama. I'm your number one fan, mama.
All right, now I'll play you an after.
I'm like, damn, mama, I can be your man, mama. Not just one of your friends, mama. I'm saying, mama, stop all of that playing, mama. I'm your number one fan, mama. Damn, mama, I can be your man, mama. Not just one of your friends, mama. I'm saying, mama, stop all of that playing, mama. I'm your number one fan, mama.
All right, so the vocal take is already pretty clean in my opinion, so I'm not trying to do too much with this. This is like a pre-EQ for me. Just dipping out some of the real harsh frequencies and taming things so they're not pushing through too hard through, you know, through the speaker and hurting your ears. So now that I got that cleaned up for the most part, I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna add my first compressor. So I just slap a CLA 2A on here. I just want things hitting at about -5 dB max. So when I play it,
damn, mama, I can be your man, mama. Not just one of your friends, mama. I'm saying, mama, stop all of that playing, mama. I'm your number one fan, mama. Damn, mama, I can be your man, mama.
you can see that
not just one
it's
of
not
your
moving
friends,
past
mama.
that 5
I'm
dB
saying,
point.
mama, stop all of that.
So the CLA 2A is gonna give me a little bit of, it's gonna give me a little bit like of a feeling on that vocal. It kind of adds some punch to it, and then it, you know, compression just means it's taking all the high and the low points volume wise, and it's, you know, kind of evening everything out. So the quieter parts sound just as loud as the super loud parts for the most part. We're gonna go through and do a little bit more. So what I do is I add this RVox shortly after. And all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mess with the comp, this thing right here. Typically I'm like in between 2 and 3. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna give the vocal a little bit more like punch. It's gonna add a little bit more compression, but it's gonna add some flavor to the vocal.
That playing, mama. I'm your number one fan, mama.
So when I crank it like that, you can see that it adds, you know, it adds volume, but it also adds like just a feeling to the vocal. So I like to keep it right at 3, 2 to 3. And that's the only thing I touch with that. You know, that thing, the RVox, everybody knows that's just a real smooth, easy plug-in. And the reason I use 2 compressors back to back is because I don't want one to work too hard and be taking on all the weight. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can split the workload between 2 plugins. That's a real good tip that I learned along the way. As far as not just for compressing, any plugin really, like when you're using a limiter, you can split the workload between 2 plugins and it goes a long way. So from here, I'm gonna add, it's my secret sauce. It's CLA vocals. And so
I can be your man, mama. Not just one of your friends, mama. I'm saying, mama, stop.
So this thing is one of my favorite plugins. Once you got everything all cleaned up and kind of sounding exactly how you want it to sound, I'm gonna go through and add this CLA vocals. And what it allows me to do is just, I don't really, all right, my phone almost died, so bear with me. I was at the part where I'm on the CLA vocals. So the main thing I'm doing here is just adding a little bit of sauce. I'm adding a tiny bit more compression, just giving it some flavor. I'm adding some treble, which is some high end, and taking a little bit of that low end out just to, clean up some of the things that I wasn't loving about the vocal. So
Stop all of that playing, mama. I'm your number one fan, mama. Damn, mama. I can be your man, mama.
all right, so next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add some saturation. I've got my Abbey Road saturator here. This is super simple. I just love the preset vocal enhance. Slap that thing on, leave it where it's at, and it's good to go. All that's gonna do is add some saturation, some light distortion to the vocal. Distortion sounds bad, but it's actually a good thing in this instance. Then I'm gonna add an R comp.
Not just one of your friends, mama. I'm saying, mama, stop all of that playing, mama. I'm your number one fan, mama.
This is just my final compressor to smooth everything out after all the processing I've done. I want to hit it at max 5 dB again. So everything's starting to sound really good to me here so far. Last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to slap on this de-esser, and that's just going to tame all the harsh S's at the end of the vocal. And then I'm going to bus over my bus 5, bus 6, bus 7. I've got 2 reverb buses and a delay bus, and then 8 is my little secret sauce bus. That is what I call a widener bus. So what I like to do with this one is I like to add some brightness. I like to cut just a tiny bit of the mids out, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this doubler. I take the middle out on the doubler just so it's left and right, and then I add this widener as well. And so what this is going to do is it's going to bust, which means it's going to send a copy of my vocal out, and it's going to play it on the outside. So the main vocal is sitting on the inside. This copy of the vocal is playing mostly on the outside, so it's adding a lot of depth to my vocal, and it just makes it a little bit louder, perceived loudness, but just adds a little bit of width to everything to make it sit inside the beat a little bit better. So this is the main thing. I'm not gonna get too in depth on like the verse or anything like that, but I'm gonna play you the finished product of where I got with the hook so far, and then let me know what you think.
Damn, mama, I can be your man, mama. Not just one of your friends, mama. I'm saying, mama, stop all of that playing, mama. I'm your number one fan, mama. Damn, mama, I can be your man, mama. Not just one of your friends, mama. I'm saying, mama, stop all of that playing, mama. I'm your number one fan, mama.
All right, so next, pretty much what I'm doing next is just adding ad-libs and back ends. I added the back ends. It's the same mix process as I did with the main vocal, except mainly what I'm gonna add is some extra delay, and I'm gonna add a widener to put the back ends on a wider spectrum. So if the main vocal is sitting here, I want the back ends to kind of push on the outside a little bit more, so they give it more perceived depth. So that's a pretty simple thing. And then as far as the ad-libs go, I'm gonna play those just individualized. So that, all I did was pretty much make a copy of my back ends. And then I added a couple little extra things to them, just something for volume. You can see the L2 here just to increase the volume or decrease. And then I added an EQ, which allows me to turn this into like a megaphone. So if you can hear it, it sounds kind of like a telephone. And then that's what it gives it that effect. When I was doing the song, I actually felt like I could add a little bit of something to it. And so that's me on the back ends or on the ad libs. And Big Waddi ended up liking it. So this is kind of the end product of the hook.
You gave me a chance. I'm like, damn, mama, I can be your man, mama. Not just one of your friends, mama. I'm saying, mama, stop all of that playing, mama. I'm your number one. Damn, mama, I can be your man, mama. Not just one of your friends, mama. I'm saying, mama, stop all of that playing, mama. I'm your number one fan, mama. Damn, mama, I can be your man, mama. Not just one of your friends, mama. I'm saying, mama, stop all of that playing, mama. I'm your number one fan, mama. Ain't no pressure, just a message from her.
All right, so that's just a quick rundown of, doing a quick mix, quick breakdown on Big Waddi's hook for Mama. It's a super simple mix, super simple song. He made it easy for me. It's a vibe, it's a bop, and it's gonna be out this Friday. So I need y'all to go run and check that out. And let me know what you think. Peace.
Damn, mama, I can be your man, mama. Not just one of your friends, mama. I'm saying, mama, stop all of that playing, mama. I'm your number one fan, mama. Damn, mama, I can be your man, mama.